What would you do if your closest friend promised loyalty, but you already knew they would fail you before the night was over? What if someone sincerely believed they were strong enough to stand firm, yet their courage would collapse under pressure? And what if one of the most painful moments between Jesus and his disciples became one of the most powerful lessons about grace? In the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 31 through 38, we enter a deeply emotional moment during the final evening Jesus spends with his disciples. Judas has just left the room to carry out his betrayal. The door closes behind him, and the darkness of that decision begins to unfold. But inside the room, Jesus continues speaking to the remaining disciples. The atmosphere has changed. What began as a shared meal has now become a time of final teaching, warning, and preparation. Jesus begins by saying something surprising. Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. At first, these words may seem confusing. How could betrayal, suffering, and the approaching cross be connected to glory? Yet Jesus sees the events ahead from a completely different perspective. The crucifixion, which will soon appear to be a moment of defeat, will actually reveal the deepest expression of God's love. Through sacrifice, forgiveness will be offered to the world. What looks like darkness will ultimately reveal divine glory. Jesus continues speaking with tenderness. He addresses the disciples as little children, a phrase that shows deep affection and care. He tells them that he will only be with them a little longer. Soon they will look for him, but where he is going, they cannot follow right away. These words must have stirred confusion and concern among the disciples. They had spent years walking with Jesus, traveling from town to town, witnessing miracles and hearing teachings that changed their understanding of life. Now he was telling them that he was leaving. But before explaining further, Jesus gives them a command that would define their identity going forward. A new command I give you: love one another. On the surface, this may not sound new. The idea of loving others already existed in the law and teachings of Israel, but Jesus adds something that transforms the meaning. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. The standard of love was no longer simply kindness or fairness. The standard was the example of Jesus himself. His love was patient, sacrificial, and unconditional. It was a love willing to serve, forgive, and ultimately give everything. Jesus explains that this kind of love will become the defining mark of his followers. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Not by power, not by status, not by knowledge alone, but by love. The disciples likely sensed the seriousness of the moment, yet they were still struggling to understand what Jesus meant about leaving. Simon Peter, always direct and curious, finally asks the question that must have been on everyone's mind: "Lord, where are you going?" Jesus answers that where he is going, Peter cannot follow now, but he will follow later. This statement hints at two things. First, Jesus is speaking about his death and return to the Father. Second, he is also hinting at Peter's future, a future that would eventually involve suffering and even martyrdom for his faith. But Peter does not understand the full meaning yet. His loyalty to Jesus feels strong in that moment, and he responds with determination. "Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you." Peter truly believes what he is saying. His words come from sincere devotion. Throughout the Gospels, Peter often shows boldness and passion. He was the disciple who stepped out of the boat to walk toward Jesus on the water. He was quick to speak and quick to act. Yet Jesus responds with a statement that must have stunned him. "Will you really lay down your life for me?" Then Jesus reveals what will happen before the night ends. "Very truly I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Imagine the shock of hearing those words. Peter, who had just declared that he would give his life for Jesus, is told that within a few hours he will deny even knowing him. This moment reveals something deeply human about Peter. His heart was loyal, but his confidence in his own strength was misplaced. Like many people, he believed his courage would hold firm no matter what happened. But Jesus understood the weakness that pressure and fear can bring. Soon soldiers would come to arrest Jesus. The disciples would face confusion, danger, and uncertainty. The boldness they felt in the safety of that room would be tested in ways they had never experienced before. Peter could not imagine denying Jesus, yet Jesus knew exactly what would happen. This prediction is not spoken with anger or rejection. Instead, it reveals something important about the relationship between Jesus and his disciples. Jesus knows human weakness. He understands that even sincere followers can fail under pressure. Yet he does not abandon them because of that failure. Later in the gospel story, Peter will indeed deny Jesus 3 times. When people recognize him as one of Jesus' followers, fear will take over. To protect himself, he will insist that he does not know the man. After the 3rd denial, the rooster will crow, just as Jesus predicted. In that moment, Peter will remember the words of Jesus, and the weight of his actions will break his heart. But that will not be the end of Peter's story. After the resurrection, Jesus will meet Peter again and restore him with grace and forgiveness. The disciple who failed will be given another chance, and Peter will eventually become one of the most influential leaders in the early Christian movement. This part of the story teaches an important lesson. Failure does not have to be final. The prediction of Peter's denial reveals the difference between confidence in ourselves and dependence on God. Peter believed his own courage would carry him through any situation. But true spiritual strength does not come from human determination alone. It comes from humility and trust in God. Jesus did not expose Peter's future failure to shame him. Instead, he was preparing the disciples for the difficult hours ahead. They would soon face confusion, fear, and the apparent loss of their teacher. But Jesus was already looking beyond those events. He knew that the cross would lead to resurrection. He knew that the disciples' fear would eventually turn into bold faith. He knew that the message of love and salvation would spread far beyond that small room. The conversation in John chapter 13 reveals a powerful contrast between human weakness and divine faithfulness. Peter's promise represents the best intentions of the human heart. Yet good intentions alone are not enough to overcome fear. Jesus' prediction shows his deep understanding of human nature, but his continued love shows something even greater: grace. Even before Peter failed, Jesus already knew how the story would unfold. Yet he still trusted Peter with a future role in God's plan. This reminds us that God's purposes are not destroyed by human weakness. Many people can relate to Peter's situation. At times we feel confident in our beliefs and commitments. We promise ourselves that we will always do the right thing. But life sometimes brings moments of pressure, fear, or uncertainty that test our strength. In those moments, we may discover weaknesses we did not expect. The story of Peter reminds us that failure does not disqualify someone from God's grace. Instead, it can become a turning point that leads to deeper humility and stronger faith. Jesus' command to love one another also connects to this lesson. The disciples would soon need to support and encourage each other through difficult times. Their unity and love would become a powerful witness to the world. And that same command continues to speak today. Followers of Jesus are called not only to believe, but to love as he loved, showing patience, forgiveness, and compassion even when others fall short. The events in that upper room remind us that faith is a journey. It includes moments of courage and moments of weakness. But through it all, the grace of Christ remains constant. Peter's story did not end with denial. It continued with forgiveness, restoration, and a new mission. And that message offers hope to anyone who has ever felt they failed or fallen short. Jesus knows our weaknesses, yet he still calls us forward. He invites us to follow him not in our own strength, but in the strength that comes from his love and grace. The night of Peter's denial was painful and humbling, but it also became part of a greater story, a story where grace triumphs over failure and love proves stronger than fear. Thank you for watching this video. If this message helped you understand the powerful lesson behind Jesus predicting Peter's denial, please like the video, follow the Holy Path Insights channel, and share this message with others. Your support helps spread these meaningful biblical insights to more people around the world.